Right. Let's start. Okay. So, um, oh, there's more people coming in. Just gonna internet. All right. We can start, I think. Do we give another minute or people are still coming in?
Yep.
Here's more. Wow. All right. Um, Perfect. Hello, and I guess good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And welcome to this widely anticipated first post-launch event of IRISE. Beyond Burnout, promoting mental health and well-being among refugee support workers, anticipated by hundreds of you who registered, but also by us, the organizers of this event. So we're all really excited to be here, and we're excited that you are here with us. My name is Miriam Keloun, and I am Syrian, and I was resettled in 2016 to Canada as a refugee. And I will be accompanying you through the event today for the next hour and a half. And for the purpose of really getting to the information that we're here to hear and to contribute with, whenever there is a speaker, we will be pasting a short bio of who they are in the chat. So whenever our wonderful speakers are going to present, they can dive right into what they prepared for us. For the purpose of this event, and because we are here to talk about our mental health and to share with each other, we invite you, if you feel comfortable, to keep your cameras open and your microphones on mute. But I think it would really be helpful, and it would make us all feel good to be able to look onto each other and see others that potentially are going through or understand what we go through as people working in the field. When I was planning this brief introduction for this event, it kind of struck me the symbolism of the topic that we chose for our first. If you know, iRise was born from that need to create the space to come together and to listen and share and support each other in the work that we do for refugees to better the lives of refugees and to support their settlements and to just do our work better. And so when we were talking about, well, what should we start with then? Do we start with employment? Do we start with what topic do we start with? And we said, you know what? We're going to stop and take a breath, and we're going to start with us. We are here to talk about us because usually we tend to forget about ourselves. We tend to be harsh on ourselves sometimes. We tend to expect a lot from ourselves because we believe in the mission of what we do, because we see the suffering that happens beyond our borders and within our borders in our countries, and we always feel pushed to do more. And so today we are here to be together, to listen and to share. So we want you to feel comfortable. If at any moment you feel that you need to step away or even just turn your camera off, please do so. Today could be heavy for some of us, but we are here to support each other. And so to start with, and I'm so excited to see that people are still joining. I don't know how many we are right now. But to start, we want to know who is with us today. So to give us an idea of who you are and what is your background, how you are connected to the reality of refugees, what kind of environment do you work in, and what are some of the experiences or feelings or that you identify with. So to do so, we ask you to scan the QR code and answer a bit, a few questions. They're just a few of them with multiple choice. So we'll give you a couple minutes, so a few minutes to do that, and then we'll launch right in. Oh, and I forgot to say, sorry, the meeting is being recorded, so also take that into consideration.
Okay. Should I flip to the next so we could start with a poll?
Yeah, I think that's great, Emily. And if anyone's missed the QR code, they can follow the link in the chat.
Great. And for accessibility purposes, I'll just read out loud as well. What type of organization are you representing today? All right. And Miriam, I'm happy to pass it over to you if you want to read out on this one, or if you'd like me to scoot over to the next one, I'm happy to do that too.
I am having a bit of technical difficulties because I don't see I see you as so I don't know if I'm having some sort of technical. Here we go. All right. Uh, Okay, so what type of organization are you representing today? I'm going to start with the biggest number of 50 post-arrival services, which is to be expected. We have 8 government agency, that is always important. Advocacy 23, all right. Oh, we're still adding more. 16 on refugee identification and application processing. Okay, so it's good because we want to kind of like see if it's going to shape some of the conversations that we're going to have. So by knowing who is with us. We have 5 academics, so that's good. All right. Do we still are people still voting, or can we move on to the all right. Okay, so now we want to know a bit more about what is your role. So we try to put as much as options as possible. Caseworkers. All right. Um, And I think we didn't put it as a multiple choice because we kind of want to know a bit of how, when you're going to be sharing or talking, in what capacity. So yes, you could be a case worker, but also in a managing role as well. So to kind of like frame your participation in the event today and from what perspective, but of course you can talk about your experience as a whole. All right, so we're still more at caseworker, and then we have 31% right behind that, managers and directors. Yeah, that category, you guys are really important in that conversation. And we do need to have you to listen to you, but also for you to listen to many of us who work in the field. So welcome, and we're happy to have you. We have volunteers as well, 6%. Advocates, I'm so happy to see 23% of people here in advocacy capacity. We can never have enough of that. Employment, healthcare, interpreters. We have no lawyers. So that's, I think, the only category we don't have. All right. And 8% of refugee and lived experience. All right, perfect. Next one, how long have you been connected to this field? So this one is just to kind of know 2 to 4 years. Then, oh, we're still going up and down. 20 plus years, 14%. Wow, and 15 to 19 years. You've seen a lot and you've lived a lot, and you've witnessed a lot. We're eager to hear your perspectives. All right. How well does your organization currently support staff mental health and well-being? All right. So this is an interesting question. It would also help set the bit of the tone of the conversation. All right. So we started out with very well, and now it's like shifting back and forth. Somewhat well is we have more. Somewhat well. All right. So it's a good, it's balanced. So we have 8%. I mean, even 1% of poorly, there's no clear strategy is not good news to hear. But we need to be here to talk about all of it. All right, so 42% somewhat well is the majority. People are still voting. All right, so between very well and somewhat well, not well, it's also 20%. Wow. All right. This is part of feeling not alone in whatever we're going through. All right. Now, this is a question that could be tough. Have you experienced any of the following? All right. We have a bit of a tie: burnout, anxiety, depression, compassion fatigue, overwhelmed and helplessness, numbness, and detachment. All right. Social withdrawal, 8%. We have PTSD, 3%. All right. Persistent sadness, irritability, difficult concentration, etc. All right. So we have Yeah. A lot of burnout. I think it's synonymous sometimes to the work that we do. It's we all have to go through it at least one time. All right, it's 13% overwhelmed and helplessness. I think this one a lot of people would identify with. 9% trauma and vicarious trauma. Wow. All right. Okay, so I hope that this kind of gives you a bit of, that feeling that you are not alone, because we are not alone. And so we're going to jump right in without further ado. So let's talk about our mental health and the realities and the challenges and what we can do to come up with best practices and policies to make it better for all of us. In conversation, how do we support the health and well-being of refugee support workers? Our first speaker is Aisha. I'm sorry, your name is not on my sheet. It's if we spotlight Aisha Koroma. And like we said, her bio is going to be pasted in the chat. I'll leave it to you, Aisha. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Hello, everyone. I hope your day is starting well or ending well in general. I'm going to just share my screen. Hopefully you can see it. If you can someone say something? Because I'm not able to see the crowd at the moment. Can you see my screen? Can someone say something?
No.
Not yet.
We do not.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Let's try again. How about now?
Yeah, I think it's starting to
Getting there.
show.
Okay.
Ah, it's here.
Perfect.
Are we there? Yes. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. So as someone who's experienced burnout, we saw the numbers. This is impacting all of us, myself included. I am not an outlier, even though I am a mental health professional and I'm supposed to know better, as people usually would say. But I experienced burnout simply because I did not take off my cape. And I know a lot of us wear a cape and we keep it on. We know we're supposed to take it off sometimes, but we don't. And I didn't. And my health took a toll. Until this day, 4 years later, my reproductive health is still in recovery because of that. So I wanted us to have an honest conversation about this because this is something serious. In our line of work, we're often praised for how much we can endure. But what if that endurance is quietly breaking us? We've learned to mask depletion as resilience, to smile through exhaustion, whatever that looks like for you, to keep going because people count on us. That's what we hear. Keep going. You have lives that depend on you. We pour out endlessly, navigating trauma, grief, crisis after crisis, including those of our own. But too often, our own needs are an afterthought. The irony there? We're building systems of care while neglecting our own. The truth is that's not sustainable. That's not just. In fact, it's just flat out harmful. And that's the reality that we're in. I know that, during the Mentimeter, we saw the numbers within this crowd, but I wanted to share numbers in general. The World Health Organization reports that burnout contributes to over 7% of the global mental health burden. That's globally. That's a lot of people that burnout is impacting. And this number is not decreasing at all. It just keeps going up. In high stress humanitarian field, studies from UNHCR and IRC shows that 62% of refugee support workers experience significant burnout symptoms, including emotional exhaustion, as we saw in our responses, and vicarious trauma. And a 2022 survey found that 35% of refugee aid workers consider leaving the field each year due to inadequate mental health support, as we saw, some of us noted, unclear boundaries, and overwhelming caseload. These aren't just statistics. These are not just numbers on screens. These are our stories and our reality. So how then do we begin to shift, this culture, whether as an organization or as leaders? I saw that we have a lot of leaders here and individuals managing organizations. I won't go through these in details for the sake of time. I'll just highlight, some. The first on the list is developing support, policies. We saw that people were saying there's some policies in place, but we're not doing much about them. You don't just develop, these policies, you implement them. You put things in place to mitigate staff stress, reaction or reduction of those stress levels. You also want to be able to examine your organizational stress factors. You have to be honest with yourself as organizations. What are we doing? What systems do we have in place that are causing people to be burned out? That's like a mirror in front of you as an organization. A lot of times we don't do that. I'm saying you must if we're going to do this work, and people's lives depend on it. Health outcomes depend on it in general. You also want to have open communications. You want to provide information, including employees and decision making. In the state that we're in resettlement, there are a lot of uncertainty. We know one thing today, we don't know what may come tomorrow. It's really important that we're communicating with our teams, with individuals, even if they're not in rooms where we're making decisions, they deserve to know to some extent about what's going on, because that does create a lot of anxiety and it impacts who they are as people. A lot of times, when we have check-ins and meetings, we focus on tasks and goals. That's great. But please remember that you have humans that you're working with. You are working with humans. I know AI is taking over, as people say, but for right now, you are interacting with humans, and you should be taking that into consideration, as an organization. You want to be able to implement stress management programs. Do you have resources in place? Are you offering employee well-being? What does that look like? Are you also individualizing, some of these needs? It's not a one size fit all. Everyone deals with things differently. So you want to be sure that you're taking, those things into consideration. Again, for the sake of time, I won't go through all of this, but you can, snapshot, maybe at some point we'll share the slides as well. I know that organizations have something to do. They have a role to play. As leaders, we have roles to play, but also as individuals, we are responsible for our own well-being. So what are we going to do about it? We have to do something about it. You can't just wait for, your employer to put things in place and you're like, oh, at some point, they're going to do something and I'm going to get better. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So you have to be able to put, self-care practices and stress management practices in place. For some people, what that looks like is getting enough sleep, eating well. For me personally, is making sure that I get a good workout, whether in the morning and after work. It's just something. I don't drink coffee, but I know that I have to do that to basically keep me going on a daily basis. You also have to set boundaries. No one is going to do it for you. If you think because you believe your manager or the organization see how hardworking you are, they're going to tell you to stop. Let me know when that happened, but I don't foresee that happening a lot at all. So you want to be able to establish your own boundaries between work and personal life. And this includes sticking to work hours and scheduling time for you to relax and focusing on your own hobbies. And one thing that a lot of us don't do, we do not master the art of saying no, because we believe saying no would hurt people's feelings. It may, but it's actually a reflection of how much you care about yourself. At least that's the way I see it. And also with delegating things. Our emotional boundaries are also just as important. It's not just telling your boss, okay, I can't come in today. You have to understand that your empathy is great. It is a gift, but that gift needs structure. And a lot of us don't have that structure. I didn't have it, which is why my health took a toll and I was forced to set those boundaries. Unfortunately, I'm sharing this so that you are not forced to do it. I know some of you have already experienced it based on the numbers. Do something so that it's not repeated. You want to be able to create routines for things to do before work, during work, and after work. I mentioned that I like to get a good workout. Something else that I do now is after work, 30 minutes later, I go for a long walk. That's when I replay the day and just let go of everything. So when I come back to Aisha, the individual, not the refugee resettlement leader. And that's really important for me. Whatever that looks like for you, I think you should have systems in place. You also want to reframe your perspective. I know a lot of times there are a lot of challenges, but they're great things that you're doing, within your roles. Maybe focus on that. Maybe you're undertaking too much. Maybe break them down a little bit so that, you're able to do them a bit easier. Now, if your organization offer support, you want to lean into that. You want to seek support, not just from your colleagues or, organization, but also your group of friends and family members. I personally have a, WhatsApp chat group where we all just pour in, whether it's just venting and people just listen. If they notice that, okay, maybe you need a conversation as in a phone call, we'll say, hey, let me call you. But it's really important for us to have spaces where we can just simply just be and just be human and take in all that we're experiencing just by being human beings in general. And a lot of times we forget that we think we're robots, but we're not. You want to take breaks. I add my lunch break on my calendar. If your lunch break is not already on your calendar, it should be. And this is coming from a place of love. You deserve that time. For a lot of us, that lunch hour is either covered by our employer or it's not covered at all. Either way, it's your time to yourself. It should be on your calendar. People should not be at a meeting. You should not be changing things around just because someone wants you to sit on the computer when you should be having a meal. So please make sure that your lunch hour is actually on your calendar. You also want to advocate for yourself. As much as we want our employers to see the good in us and say, hey, stop working so hard, they may or may not do that. This includes taking time off and pushing for your own mental health accommodation, whatever that looks like to you. When I have too many meetings, if I have 4 to 5 meetings in a day, I would tell my boss I can only take 3, maybe 4, but not beyond that. If I don't advocate for myself, no one will. So I'm telling you, you should, and you can definitely do that. Okay, so here's what I want to leave us with. If you think you're reading my notes on the screen, that is intentional because I want you to take this with you. It's coming from my heart and I want you to have it, okay? We cannot call ourselves humanitarian when we're overworking ourselves, our teams, elevating stress levels, and compromising our health. We need to stop glorifying burnout right at this moment. If you're one of those people or group of people that glorify it in some way, I'm not saying you're waving a flag saying burnout is good. Glorifying burnout also means not stopping yourself. That's what I'm referring to here. Let me be clear. Burnout doesn't just make us more dedicated. It doesn't make us more dedicated at all. It makes us less present to ourselves, to our loved ones, to the work that we care about, and to the people that we serve. The fact is, burnout people cannot build safe havens. How dare we think that we can be safe havens for others when we're not for ourselves? So let's create a culture where caring for ourselves isn't just a footnote, but rather the foundation of what we do and in everything that we do. Burnout is not a personal issue. We saw the numbers here in this group. We saw the numbers with the UN and all across the board. It is a public health, crisis that is hiding in plain sight. That is the fact. We saw that more than 7% of the world mental health burden was caused by burnout. This is serious. This is important. This is impacting our health and our life. So let's please take care of ourselves and each other. And I mean it when I say that. You have to take care of yourself. You deserve as much love and compassion as you give to everybody else. Why not give a bit to yourself? To normalize some of these conversations, I manage a project called the Safe Space Project. So I've included a code here. And, I've tried to include as much resources as possible. Maybe I'll even add these slides and maybe we can add it into the package that we will be providing as well. Hopefully this is helpful. Again, you are just as important as the work that you do and the lives that you impact. Please take time for yourself and we'll interact more. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Aisha. Sometimes, even though we think we know, when someone tells us, it kind of be like, okay, I will schedule my lunch break into my calendar. Sometimes it's as small as this. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on to another poll. So we're going to post another one in the chat. How well can you recognize signs of vicarious trauma or trauma triggers in yourself? So to get an idea of how you see yourself and how you see your experiences and how you identify them and how well. All right. Okay. That's good. We have 50%. Okay, 45, very well. Can usually identify with reflection. Taking time to reflect also. Wow. All right. Okay, so mainly very well. All right, so hopefully with our next speaker, we will get to learn a bit more of how we can do that and how we can recognize these signs in us. So I will introduce our next speaker, Yasmina Bayraktarevich Hayward.
Excellent.
And her bio is also in the chat. So over to you, Yasmina. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. I shall share my screen and let's see if that works. You can see the screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Okay, so welcome everyone to my section. As Mariam said, my name is Yasmina Bayraktarevich Hayward and I work at STARTS, which is Service for the Treatment and Rehabilitation of Torture and Trauma Survivors in Sydney, Australia. Before I do anything further, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I find myself on. And that would, for me, that would be Cabrogal people of the Darug Nation. All of us are on Indigenous lands somewhere, wherever we are in the world. Being a refugee and of refugee background myself, the connection to country is essential to my well-being. Hence, I bring this up as well as the work that I'll share with you in a moment. Okay, now let's see if this moves. Okay. So what I'll do today very quickly, and this is normally a full day training, but I will discuss some frameworks to help us understand the impact of our work. We will look at more specific signs of vicarious trauma, but also introduce the concept of vicarious resilience. And I will highlight the system's responsibility for worker care that goes beyond organizational responsibility. And in Australia, that's encoded in legislation. Now, to follow on from where Aisha was, some of the elements of self-compassion, it is self-compassion that starts us in this journey to look after ourselves. And elements of self-compassion include the self-kindness, where we understand and soothe and gently care for our emotions. Mindfulness, being aware of the feelings that we experience when we work with clients. And that mindfulness being something that allows us to accept our emotions in all of their glory, big, bad, good, or otherwise. All emotions are good, they're all here. And then common humanity is part of caring for ourselves. We are all part of a large human family and we are connected. Working in this field, and I have worked at STARTS for over 30 years now, it can have diverse impacts on us. It can trigger our own trauma, particularly for those of us who arrive to this work with lived refugee experience. We can experience vicarious trauma, which I'll focus on in a minute. There was a mention of burnout by Aisha, and we will hear more about burnout, and then so-called compassion fatigue. Why I have a picture of a bit of ceramics here is that often when we break things and we want to put them back together, we try to hide the signs of breakage. But this particular approach to art and ceramics, kintsugi, is tells us that with the breaks and the potential damage and experiences that we've lived in our lives are very much a part of who we are, and they should be seen and celebrated. I have been through burnout and through vicarious trauma more times than I can remember, and they're all part of who I am as a human being and as a worker in this field. Now, what is this thing called vicarious trauma? It's basically a transformation of ourselves as human beings through the empathic engagement with survivors. And as it says here, we are human beings and we open our hearts when we work with people. But then exposure to people's trauma, exposure to people's stories changes how we see ourselves and how we see the world. So some of those, some of the more specific elements of how we change through exposure to other people's traumas. I think the first thing that happens is elements that are associated with memory and specific images or stories that we have experienced. So it could be unwanted imagery associated with person's story. We could experience nightmares when we hear stories of deep trauma and torture. And we could actually become preoccupied with scenes of violence that keep coming back to us. And again, it's not the violence and stories that we personally have experienced, but they're the things that we have experienced through exposure to our clients' stories. I was a counselor at Starts at a very young age. And in the beginning, in particular, I have experienced these images and nightmares associated with my clients' stories. I have seen them and I have heard them in my waking life and when I slept. So that was the first thing that I experienced. The next thing that you can experience is impact on interpersonal relationships, on connections with other human beings for multiple reasons. One, because we often feel that those who don't work in our field do not understand. They don't understand what we have experienced as workers, and they might not understand what our clients have gone through. So for that thing, the thing of lack of understanding that we perceive in others can actually separate us from the people that we love, the people that we care. So the impact of interpersonal relationships. And then even deeper, the whole sense of meaning, our sense of meaning, how we create meaning as human beings, sense of identity, who we are as human beings, but also beliefs about self and others. For me, one of the changes was that I felt that the world was no longer safe in a way that I didn't feel before. After I worked with a group of women who were all sexual assault survivors in the context of war, I saw the world as very unsafe. And I started to turn around and look behind my back much more than I had before that. Now, a really important thing to remember about vicarious trauma, it is normal and unavoidable. So these are these things that we need to be mindful of. When I speak of mindfulness, we actually need to be aware of it. And we need to do something with this experience of vicarious trauma. So it is normal and unavoidable in a sense that we are human beings, we are empathic, we are our own tools in the work that we do. And our empathy wires us for this experience. Now, again, we are wired for empathy. I also want to mention the concept of vicarious resilience and post-traumatic growth. Those of us who have gone through trauma in our lives in some way can reflect on the fact that we have grown from the experience once it was processed within us. Similarly, with vicarious trauma, we can start actually seeing what truly matters in life after we hear stories of trauma. And we can become more concerned with social justice. We can become more committed to our work because the work we do in itself is a protective factor. It helps us and gives us meaning and helps us combat helplessness. When the world is falling apart, being able to change and change the world for one person at a time gives you meaning, which in itself is a protective factor. Now, those of us, again, who have arrived to this work as with our own refugee experience, we are exposed to vicarious trauma, but we also can experience direct triggers of our own trauma. We can experience grief related to our own past displacement or losses. We can feel moral distress when we can't meet the overwhelming needs that we face with. And our own communities, when we work with our own communities, the community needs and demands might become overwhelming, and we might feel totally and utterly guilty for not being able to meet all of those needs and demands. And also experience stress associated with functioning in a system that doesn't recognize and honor the impact of trauma. And that stress is part of that stress is deep anger with the systems. Now, how does vicarious trauma contribute to burnout? Burnout and vicarious trauma are different things, but both vicarious trauma and our own experience of trauma triggered by talking to others contributes to burnout. But there are other elements of contributions to burnout, and Aisha covered some of those. I want to give you an easy model to think about. And one of those models is the 5 healthy things that we can do in our lives. And I moved. Okay, the concept of seeds. You are going to remember seeds. And Aisha gave you some strategies. But if you remember anything from today, remember seeds. Remember that we all need to sleep. We need to find a way to sleep enough. Exercise. Aisha spoke about the benefits of exercise to herself. For me, for a long time, it was martial arts. And martial arts also helped me deal with my vicarious trauma because I felt stronger and safer. Education, learn new things every day, challenge your brain because your brain needs that. Good diet and social connections. So they're the 5 seeds that enable you to care for yourself. So what you ask yourself, check in, are all your seeds in good shape? Are you doing what you need to make those seeds grow in your life? And what do you need to help them grow? From yourself, from your family, and from the community that you work in. And last but not least, I just want to share with you, those of you who are not in Australia, we have this thing called Workplace Health and Safety Act. And some time ago, quite recently really, Australia introduced psychosocial health or psychological health as part of health and safety. And under this law, workplaces such as my own workplace must manage psychosocial hazards. And there's a bit of a list here of psychosocial hazards that we might experience. As you can see, exposure to traumatic content is a very important psychosocial hazard, high emotional demands of the work that we do, and poor support or supervision. So a number of these things are psychosocial hazards. And I appreciate the fact that the Australian government has recognized those and has required organizations to care for human beings who work for them. So I think that is it from me for now. But if I leave you with anything, I leave you with whole of society responsibility to care for those who care for others, and with the concept of seeds and making sure that all 5 seeds at any time are looked after. Okay.
Thank you, Yasmina. Oh, goodness, goodness. Whew. We felt it, eh? I felt it in here. I would like everyone to kind of like drop that like or heart button if you, like me, found yourself reflected in that beautifully broken and put together phase that was shared in Yasmina's presentation, because that was, I think a lot of us found ourselves in that. All right, so I hope everyone is doing well. We are almost halfway through, I think, a bit more. All right, so before we move on to our next speaker, we will also share a poll. All right, so which of the following do you think makes the biggest difference in retaining staff in trauma-exposed work? So I think this is as important of input from workers and from people in managing and leadership roles. All right, leadership, I think, wow, 42-40. Strong team culture, leadership that values well-being. Flexible service models with less supervision and clinical safety. Higher wages, yes, can we get more of that? Higher wages and well-being benefits. All right, but neck and neck, the team culture and a leadership that values well-being. All right, so yeah, I think that is telling. All right, perfect. So that would lead us to our next speaker, Sharon Ward. And again, her bio would be in the chat box. Over to you, Sharon.
Okay, hi everyone. I'll just share my screen with you. Just give me a sec. Okay, can you see that? Is that okay? Great, okay. So kia ora everyone, and thanks for the introduction. Yeah, in the interest of time, I'll just crack on. So in this presentation, I'll be focusing on strategies we use at RAS-NZ, Refugees as Survivors New Zealand, on the ways we support well-being in this very high impact trauma exposed workplace we work in. And I'll try to demonstrate how strong well-being strategies isn't just an add-on in our policies, but actually it underpins pretty much everything we do. So why is that not going? There we go. So why does well-being matter? Well, we've had a lot of talk about this today, and it's been really well explained. So from my perspective, I want to talk about it as a CEO who's trying to manage these clinicians in this traumatic space. So RAS is a mental health NGO, and we support former refugees both on arrival and in resettlement in Auckland. And as all of you know, these people are vulnerable, often carrying horrendous stories and of what they've lived through and what they've lost in their lives. And many have been exposed to torture. That means that our clinicians and others on the front line carry quite heavy emotional loads. So they're not just treating trauma. They're literally bearing witness to, you know, this kind of information day in and day out. And we believe that providing a stronger staff well-being policy is pretty essential for combating this vicarious trauma at the level we possibly can keep it under control. And additionally, we've proved it to be a sustainable business model, resulting in better staff retention, stronger client equity, and service integrity. So I'm threading that in because it's important, especially for the managers and CEOs listening in this space. So what have we done that works well? Well, we believe that to retain clinicians, this kind of work, well-being must be embedded into the organizational framework. So we've really put our money where our mouth is at RAS, and we have raised wages to align with benchmark standards as much as we possibly can. Sometimes we're on par, sometimes we're just bubbling below. And that's not easy to do, but we've introduced well-being and team building days, 3 a year, where we go out together as a team. We have a budget for it, and we do team building, and we have fun. We provide massage every 6 weeks, full massage for every member of the team. And we also provide internal and external supervision. Staff have really substantial professional development packages. I think I've put that on the screen. Plus, we also do in-house PD training every 6 weeks on particular issues, whether it's autism, whether it's risk-related suicide training, but we're continuously using our ability to give our staff as many tools as possible. We do annual step increases to stay up to date with wages. And honestly, since we made these changes, I can tell you we are fully staffed, and in this climate, that says a lot. And so we've proved that these investments in people, they not only work, but they're financially viable because we're not continually trying to recruit, et cetera, and we're not losing institutional knowledge, which is a classic thing that happens in our sector. So by creating the smarter service delivery,
Sorry, Sharon, I think you're one slide ahead of us. So if you want to just go back one. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I don't know how I do that. I'm not very good at this. Wait, let's see if
you're great.
Yeah.
Just didn't want to give away your speech. Yeah, great. That's perfect. Thank you.
Right. Sorry about that. I'm not very good at this. Myself will tell you that. So in order to create this, what I call the smarter service delivery system, we've managed to reduce we had quite soaring wait lists at one stage by up to 75%. And how we've done that is we've really drilled down and streamlined our triage processes using a small dedicated team that makes consistent decisions on what is considered high, medium, and low risk cases. So it keeps everything very basically very consistent in terms of where people are placed and the clients are placed. We've reduced the numbers of client sessions. We often used to just let people stay till they were feeling a little bit better, but we've actually reduced those to 12 sessions where clinicians can apply for them to continue. If it's clinically safe to do so, we let them go. but we always give them an option to remain. And of course, high needs clients continue to be seen until discharged. So we're working towards half of our service being delivered for our clinicians online now, because we were a mobile service and we were trying to offer more flexibility in a city that's heavily bound up with traffic, which is creating this whole system of half and half now is creating more equity for our client access. And the most significant thing we've done in the SMART system is through the triage process, we've filtered all of the low needs clients that come through, often the worried well or anxiety around housing, but not particularly the secondary mental health issues. We filter those into client peer support groups with our psychosocial team of refugee background people. Then that frees up clinicians to focus their time with the more complex needs of their clients. Right, we'll go to the next slide. Now what's happened there? Okay, so what we've found with the system is obviously the whole system's wrapped around the holistic support framework, kind of designed like a spider's web, and it links everything together. So how do we do this? Well, we philanthropically fundraise for all of our holistic community-based services. We are funded for our clinical services through Health New Zealand, but these community-based services are philanthropically funded. So it's not easy to get this money. We have to work hard for it. So we've got a cross-cultural team of 14 different ethnicities working in this empowerment training psychosocial group framework. And we have a dedicated youth service as well, with its own counsellor and social worker. And we also have obviously holiday programs and activity programs that are all relevant, by the way, that things like how to get a job, how to get a driver's license, things that are really important. They also have fun, and there is a sports program. We have a community engagement program, and we have a training and research program that delivers mainly the training delivers essential training in the community. So these wraparound services, they are not only supporting the client's experience, but they also support the clinicians who can feel confident that their clients are being held beyond the therapy room, particularly with the low need psychosocial mental health, and also being able to filter people through to various other parts of the organization. So finally, we've managed, one of the other things we've done is we've embedded that lived experience into the fabric of the service design of RASNZ, and we've created a model, I think, that's relevant and culturally safe and probably more resilient than ever was before. These protocols, I think, shape how we build trust in the ethnic communities, ensuring relevant and demonstrating cultural safety at the same time. So they also strengthen outcomes for staff who understand they're part of something grounded and authentic and aligned to the real community need. Now, that's a kind of all-round presentation of how we operate. So in those key takeaways, I'll just run through them for you. Wellbeing is a core strategy. It's not a bonus. That's really important for people to understand. In trauma-exposed work, staff wellbeing must be treated as a critical part of your operating model. It's not an optional extra, and it's not a badge of honor, as was said before. Management have to take responsibility for that, and also so do staff. Burnout is a system failure. Okay, it's a system failure, in my opinion. It's not a personal weakness. Vicarious trauma is real, and if your systems don't account for it, you'll lose good people. I'm talking to the managers who are listening. Pay properly, supervise well, and invest in growth. Aligning wages to industry standards is, with that, you can provide external, you can also provide external and internal supervision and fund regular professional development, and that will if you can't give extremely, if you can't pay at the level you know with your budget, then at least try and bring packaging in to support your staff. Structure matters. Use online services smartly and get clinicians working at the top of their scope. Staff retention is a measure of success. Our staff retention is no accident. It's the result of a deliberate investment in people and culture. So holistic services reduce clinical loads. So those wraparound services we talked about, psychosocial community-based support, frees clinicians up to focus on complex cases. Lived experience makes your service stronger. Embedding lived experience in the design and the delivery builds cultural safety, trust, and relevance for both client and staff. And finally, leadership must own well-being. Changes start at the top. So that's the closing statement for me. But just, I did want to say, I know that for many of you listening today, you don't have the luxury of some of the benefits that I have, and that I've got a health, a government health department behind us. We do take a lot more of the responsibility philanthropically, and I understand the issues around funding is very raw as we navigate through these very challenging times. But I wanted to say I was invited to share this model, not to hold it up as something unreachable, but to offer one example of what's possible when we build from strong foundations. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope you get something out of that.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I would ask how to apply to come work for you, but I think you have the beautiful problem of your employees not leaving. So, all right. So before we move into the breakout rooms, which will be a bit shorter because we want to come back into the plenary 10 minutes before 8:30. So before we go to the breakout rooms, though, I'm going to invite Aisha to do a wellness exercise with us. So to kind of just take a short break. And so Aisha, without further ado, I'll leave you to it.
Thanks, Miriam. So before we continue, we thought it'd be really helpful to just ground ourselves because we've heard a lot, some of which might be directed talking to us. So we just wanted to take a moment to just, ground ourselves in general. If you're comfortable, you can turn off your camera. I am going to do that for the exercise that we're going to do. So I'll turn off my camera. And if you feel comfortable to do so, you can do that as well. With your camera off, if you're also comfortable and safe to close your eyes, you are more than welcome to do that. I will turn off my camera now. Okay. In spaces like this, of course, with the work that we do, our compassion runs deep. We've heard that a lot today, but we don't take moments to ourselves, including just a moment to breathe sometimes. It's just easy, I guess, to hold on to so much without even realizing it in this line of work. So we'll try to be intentional for this moment. We are going to take 3 intentional breaths, okay? Not to disconnect, but to recenter. So that we can stay present without burning out, even in this 90 minutes that we have together today. So the first breath we're going to take is what I like to refer to as a breath of solidarity. So what we're going to do, we're going to inhale. And as you breathe in, know that the work that you do is important, but so are you. But also understand that in the battle of doing the work that you do, you're not alone. We're going to exhale. And as we exhale, we're going to release the illusion that we carry that we have to do this by ourselves. We don't. We'll stay in that moment. And now we'll move on to the next breath. And this one will be a breath of hope. Whenever you're ready, we'll inhale. And for this breath, we want to take in the possibility of safety, of justice, of restoration in the midst of all the chaos that we're experiencing. And we'll exhale. And in that, we let go of despair, even just for this moment. Let's just sit with that moment for a few seconds. Now we'll take a final breath of purpose. And as you inhale, connect with your why. Why did you come to this line of work? Your reason for showing up again and again despite the challenges. Take it all in. And when you're ready to exhale, we're going to exhale in the trust that your presence, your voice, your care are part of something way bigger than you can ever imagine. Let that sink in and stay in that moment for a few more seconds. And whenever you feel like coming back to the space, you can do that. You can still keep your cameras off. I'll keep mine off until about another minute or so. So thank you for taking this moment with us. Let's continue to be grounded, to be present, and to be reminded that who we are is important. Who we serve is just as important, but why we do this work is also another layer of why we should take care of ourselves. The work we do in resettlement is meaningful, but also challenging and, basically rooted in humanity. Over the past few months, whether you're in the US or just across the globe, it's been a bit heavy for most of us, if not all. We've carried the weight of our community's needs. We've held space for change within our teams. And here we are, still showing up, still standing in solidarity, still holding the line for forcibly displaced people. So I want to thank each and every one of you for staying grounded in the roles that you do, holding compassion for the work that we do, and continuing to serve with, heart. I'm thanking you not just as the 39-year-old adult in front of you, but the refugee kid in me who is reminded on a daily basis that the work that you do is important. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Aisha. That was, I believe, much needed, and we probably all felt it deep in our. All right. So we're going to move on to the breakout room. So we want to hear from you. I think if we give each one of you a microphone, you could plan and present the whole hour and a half. So like we said, this is just the beginning. So we're just pushing open that door. So if at any moment you want to connect with others, you can see participants, you can message each other, and then, connect with each other and take that conversation further and beyond this meeting. So we will be divided into 11 groups with, we're going to thank our facilitators. Welcome back, everybody. It's good to see. Now that we have all of you here, actually, we were wondering if it would be possible for us to take screenshots of the group. So if you are okay with having your photo taken and potentially, being shared on, whether it's LinkedIn, social media, to talk about IRISE, keep your camera on, and if not, you can close it. But maybe we can go back to the gallery and all right, so are you, everyone that's on this, if you're okay with having your camera on, keep it on. We'll give the countdown from 5. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Yeah, we do another, or have you taken a few, or we're
I
good?
got one.
We're good. Okay. So welcome back. I hope you had, a good conversation. We have some time to take a few of your comments, or if someone has anything to share from your breakout rooms. It could be about one of, what you shared, or it could be about one of, even if you shared something, a takeaway from what you heard from one of our presenters that you didn't get the chance to also share it in the breakout room, you can also do it now. So the floor is open for everyone. Wow. Oh, it's so beautiful to see it as it gets constructed. Common experiences. I think that is always sometimes surprising, even though it shouldn't be. We always think it could be just us, and that we need to do better, and that we need to manage our time and our skills and our emotions better. Institutional care, absolutely. Solidarity is right in the middle with leadership, self-care. Self-care is there. 5 seeds, sleep, yes. Leadership, self-care, and empathy. Well, we have those that keep showing up in the middle. I'll try to see some of the smaller ones. Community is so important. Team support, absolutely. Transparency is a really important one. Wow. Passion with yourself. We'll try. Self-care, I love it. It's at the heart of it. It's at the heart of it, and it's the biggest one. Empathy, self-care, and leadership. I mean, this could be the path for our next meetings. Empathy, self-care, leadership. Then we have solidarity, structure, shared experiences. Wow. All right, here we go. This is so beautifully formed. Empathy, self-care, self-care twice, leadership and empathy. Does anyone have any comments as well? Please feel free to, we have a couple, 2-3 minutes left. If you want to either throw it in the chat or just open your mic and share with us. Just a last reflection.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Miriam. It's good to see you.
You too.
It's not so much a reflection, but more of a question. I was wondering if Aisha could share our grounding exercise after the meeting. I found it really helpful, and I love the affirmation. So if Aisha feels comfortable, if there's any way to share it with the participants, I would be really grateful. And thank you for this wonderful meeting. It came right in time for me. I was having a day, and this helped a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be more than
Sandra.
happy to do that.
And we also put in the chat some resources on mental health for refugee support workers. So we put this list together, and if you have any that you would like to add also, please email us, let us know.
Hi, I have a quick question.
Yes.
I'm sorry, this might be a silly question, but I was wondering if, because obviously this has been recorded, are we able to receive a copy of this recording? Because a lot of my peers in our organization would highly benefit from this presentation.
All right, Louise, I will let you. All right, thumbs up, perfect.
So we will share the recording with all registered participants. So yes, it will be shared as an email.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And this has been an absolutely incredible presentation.
We appreciate all of you and being here. We have 1 minute. If anyone wants to also ask a question, share anything.
I'd like to just thank you for this topic. It's so important, and I don't think I've ever seen it talked about like this, so thank you. I would love to see more discussion around cultural safety, and I mentioned it in the breakout rooms, especially because we tend to prioritise hiring lived experience workers, people from refugee backgrounds themselves, and I just feel there's not enough cultural safety in our workplaces. I notice it a lot in rural and regional offices, and there's a bit of out of balance whack with Anglo clinicians, and so there's a cultural bias that happens in workplaces. So I would love to see that be more discussed. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I can attest to that. I lived that, and I'm sure a lot of other refugees who work in the field also have lived that. So I think this is a conversation that is really needed. And like I said, this is the point of entry for this discussion. We need to take it out of the hallways and the small rooms and to bring it into light. Louise, Emily, I mean, you know, the group of organizers, if you also want to share anything or say any last words before we finish this meeting, we go take another deep breath.
I would just love to take a moment to thank you, Miriam, for leading us through this conversation. You just did a wonderful job, and thank you to all of our presenters, and also thank you to everybody who logged on, whether it's the morning or the evening today.
Thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you soon, and you will see us as well. Yes, Louise, I'll let you wrap it up.
Thank you, Miriam.
Well,
Thank you,
my
everyone.
wrap up is just to ask people to fill in the evaluation and feedback, because it really helps us. This is our second event, and yeah, we'd love to know what you thought and what we can do next time and what topics. I think we have lots of food for thought, and thank you as also to Miriam.
To everyone.